So, TYT's having a hard time right now, and Hassan Piker is the nephew of Cenk Uygur, right? Um, so I don't know what we're gonna get out of this video because he's obviously gonna be somewhat generous to Cenk's enterprise of the Young Turks. So if you want like a more hard-hitting video, you can take a look at what Andrea Rovensky, is that your last name? She used to go by like Cyber Demon. Anyway, I shared some shit on Twitter, all right, about this. Anna Kasparian has been, for some ungodly reason, outing herself as transphobic and more recently as a racist. Um, because she apparently over the weekend did this like right wing show where she said that she was uncomfortable speaking to people of other races because she was afraid she would step in it. Um, Girlfriend, how is that even a fucking possibility for you? I grew up partially in LA, partially in South OC, right? There was never a fucking moment in my 49 years of existence that I was afraid I was going to say something inappropriate to a person of a different race. Like, I might not get some of their cultural references when they bring them up to me, but I'm not an asshole about it, okay? Like, how, like, oh, you're afraid you're gonna drop the N word or something? Like, what are you thinking? Oh my God, even. Anna Kasparian is totally melting down right now, and this is the co-host of the Young Turks that partners with Hassan Piker's uncle, Cenk Uygur, who famously failed at running for Congress in the Antelope Valley, where he doesn't even fucking live. He was trying to carpetbag it. I have a lot of activist friends who were actually in that district who were telling me all about what was happening. And I mean, I can't even with you guys. Like, Cenk Uygur, like, you guys are trying to present yourselves as progressives. Even Hassan himself has told his uncle on camera that he considers him a moderate. And you're right. You're right. Like, the shit going down. I can't even. I can't even. Okay, so apparently a transgender activist just left the show, and Anna Kasparian misgendered her in her discussion about uh, the departure of Benny from the show. She misgendered her. How can you guys be so fucking stupid? Like,
the last 6 minutes is really good. Okay, all right, let's start off here.
Republicans happy. And, like, that is unbelievably disgusting. It's such a shameless thing to do. Like, how on God's green earth?
Yeah, I hate that. I mean, the whole birthing person incident was a major red flag that this was the direction she was headed. Hopefully she can take a step back and reevaluate how she's being. Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree with that, for the record. It just sucks that, like, hope that that's not the case. You hope that there, like, that is not a change of pace or a change of attitude, a shift in attitude.
which, by the way, what he's referring to is a random tweet that Anna Kasparian put out about how she did not want to be called a birthing person. She did not want to be called somebody with a uterus. And it was out of the blue. It was not in response to anything. And it was seriously to attack the fact that there are transgender men who still have uteruses, who are still capable of child production, and who can be raped and need reproductive rights. It was just out of the blue. It wasn't in response to anything, because the closest reference to that was, I think, a year prior, when it was, what's her name, Corey, one of the squad, right, talks about birthing persons, because she was talking about reproductive rights and talking about how it needs to apply to anybody who has that type of anatomy, because it can affect men and women depending on where you land on the gender spectrum. And this is... God damn. You guys in LA, you're so bad at this. You are so bad at this. And this has been my struggle with the LA activists for ever since like 2017, is that they're but even longer than that, because like I found that like some of the most racist motherfuckers I've ever met in my life were people I met when I was in the LA area going to school up there.
Like a real dramatic shift in attitude, and then it does turn out to be that way sometimes.
Do you think that you get to call yourself some sort of like principled leftist who's out to do the right thing? How can you call yourself the home of progressives when you are actively cutting deals with fascists about...
Because there's a lot of people in LA especially, but also in other parts of the country, who believe that progressive means economic progressive, and that we should not have laws that protect special marginalized communities, that we need to have laws that protect the working class. They think that these things cannot happen at the same time, right? This is a reality, is that they want to preserve their racism and bigotry and sexism at the same time as being like, no. It's all about economic progressivism. This is a real fucking thing. I have talked to activists throughout the country. This is a real fucking thing.
The rights of trans people, and then spreading transphobic nonsense to an audience of like millions of people. It is deeply irresponsible, and fundamentally, it's pathetic. This is genuinely embarrassing. The degree to which this is irresponsible just knows no bounds, because there are so many people that are literally looking to people like Cenk for opinions, and he's literally just giving them an open invitation to be as transphobic as they want to be, because it's politically strategic.
They'll say that, but okay, you don't care about the politics? Let's just, for once in your life, think strategically about what that means.
This is really good. Yeah, this is exactly what is going on. I think she's 100% correct on that. Like the giving up on certain talking points specifically so you can be strategic is, I think, silly. And it's the exact same kind of triangulation that old TYT and TYT still to this day will shit on the Democratic Party for. It's just that they don't think it's worth fighting for. And that's the reason why they don't want to like educate people on why it's fucking silly and move on from it. Or they just...
Don't you think that's their responsibility, Hassan? Don't you think having a media outlet that's advertising themselves as progressive, that it should be their goddamn responsibility to educate their audience about the appropriate position to take on these subjects? Don't you think that's where we should go?
Legitimately disagree with it, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's great. That's a great point by Ben Carollo. Benny, you guys said her name is, right? She's trans, I think. Benny. She was a trans content creator at TYT. I don't know. I haven't fucking been involved in TYT for a very long time.
That means that you're going to continue pushing the Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything that the trans activists want, even if it's unpopular among the electorate. that means they're not getting reelected.
I'm sorry, why does it need to be popular for you, bitch? It needs to be right. That's what government's about. That's why we have the government that we have. We have got it set up so that marginalized communities will be protected. It's not about popularity. It's about what is right and educating people. Oh my God, you dumb bitch.
That means they're going to lose to Republicans. Republican lawmakers who are passing draconian, disgusting legislation in various states right now as we speak against the transgender community.
Look at this. You're gonna push your Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything the trans activists want. Like, shut up. Literally, shut the fuck up. This is so embarrassing. Like, Anna Kasparian, like, look, I'm gonna be real. This is my personal opinion, but whatever. I think Anna Kasparian is genuinely personally transphobic. I'm just gonna say it right now. She's like saying and doing all of the things. She's referring to every trans person as a trans rights activist. Referencing every trans person as a trans rights activist is just, on its face, literally transphobic. And it's one of the things that transphobes have been pushing for a long time, is just calling every trans person a trans rights activist. I mean, and the media more broadly does this as well. And this whole idea of like, you're gonna lose to Republicans, you're gonna lose to Republicans if you cater to these trans people, once again, is entirely debunked.
Oh, yeah, and just to add on to this, too, by the way, the area that Anna probably lives in is somewhere, like, around the Hollywood area, or, like, Glendale or something like that. They have huge Armenian populations in those areas that I personally walked when I was still physically capable before I got bit by a dog, right? They have very... deep neighborhoods of Armenian communities. Like, even when I was going to Hollywood High back in the late 80s, early 90s, the majority of our school population was Armenian. So you've got a lot of like first generation Armenians in these neighborhoods. She seems to be third world. I'm just being real. She seems to be very third world in her viewpoints. She's trying to present herself as a progressive, but the fact is that she probably grew up in one of these communities that, because they have quite a few of them, in the Hollywood, Atwater Village, Glendale areas that are first generation immigrants from Armenia. And so she is not, she doesn't, it seems very much like she has not actually adopted American values yet of freedom. She hasn't figured this out yet. She hasn't figured out freedom yet.
Most people are fine with trans people, and when Republicans make their entire platform about attacking trans people, it actually does undermine their political success. We just live in a country that is very much not a democracy, that has all this gerrymandering and all these other things, and so Republicans still have, like, seats in a lot of places. I know, wild concept. But genuinely, if you look at their poll numbers in response to them focusing on just trans people existing, it's not working. It is genuinely not working for them. It is undermining the electoral success. But of course, you can't not take the opportunity to blame trans people for their own oppression, am I right? It's really great that Anna Kasparian is doing this.
And by the way, you schmucks, you're falling exactly into the right-wing trap. The Republicans, they tried everything. They tried anti-gay stuff, it didn't work. They tried trans bathrooms, you remember that? Mm-hmm. That didn't work. Kicking the transgender community out of the military, that didn't work. They drilled in until they finally found a little tiny nugget of like, hey, trans folks in like competitive sports seems a little bit much. And you don't engage them in that fight. They lose on everything else. But idiot activists, yes, I just called you an idiot. Wow. Activists go in there and go, no, I'm going to fall right into that trap, and I'm going to fight on the only losing ground we have so we can elect more Republicans so they can pass more anti-LGBT.
I mean, the counter to this is really simple. It's like civil rights movement, deeply and undesirably unpopular. Mm. Saying that, like, this in and of itself at the time is not a worthy cause is exactly what Martin Luther King was criticizing when he talked about the white moderate. Republicans aren't even winning on this issue. Exactly. That's the other part. Yeah, Benny is
Yeah, exactly. So why the hell does she keep pushing it forward? Why is she pushing this forward over and over again? Is she doing it for her own personal reasons? Or is she doing it because somebody is fucking paying her to do it? Because this is some bullshit that she keeps attacking trans, and now she's going after race, right? Why is she doing this? Can you guys fucking fire? I know, look, okay, Hassan, I know you don't work for TYT anymore. But your uncle does. Why the hell is she still on staff? Try that again.
on the money with this, I think. It seems.
TYT laws. Great. Well played. I'm sure your clout and your brand is doing great.
Yeah.
These clips are just so infuriating, genuinely. Like, that talk about betrayal is just so, like, pathetic and embarrassing and shameless, coming from Cenk and Anna right here. Like, oh, you're betraying the trans community by fighting for trans rights. How dare you just say that trans people should be treated equally in society? Don't you know that you're supposed to live as second-class citizens so that I can feel better about myself when I give you rights? Literally, spare me. This is ridiculous. But I think the real icing on the cake here is this tweet where Anna Kasparian has decided to unilaterally declare Jesse Singal to not be a transphobe, despite, and this is what's really wild.
What the fuck? I mean, that is wild.
Jesse Singal literally talking to whistleblowers at a
Jesse Signal, which, by the way, I didn't even fucking realize his name was Singal. I thought it was Signal this whole time. He's a transphobic person. That's all he does. All he does is fucking complain about trans people. He's got trans on the mind non-fucking stop. Cenk reminds me of an uncle I'd get into an argument about homeless people at a Thanksgiving or something. Yeah, it's really funny because I have had an argument with Cenk on that issue. But
medical facility that appear to have made some significant HIPAA violations about their patients in sharing the information that they did with Jesse Singal.
Oh,
and, of course, you have him running around spewing all of the same transphobic nonsense that basically your average transphobe is gonna be spreading. You know, the types of things about, like, oh, we don't know about...
Okay, Hassan. Like, literally, this is your family. I know that you don't work for TYT anymore, but can you please have a conversation with your uncle about the fact that he is not a progressive. He does not represent progressive values. The fact that he's in LA, he hired Jimmy Dore. Come on, man. This is getting to the point of such ridiculousness that it makes it difficult for us to actually work on local races. And I think you probably know at this point that I'm a local activist and I've worked on local races. And it is very difficult to deal with people who have been brainwashed by this kind of bullshit. This topic was completely unnecessary for Anna to bring up in the first place. And she is doubling down on it. And it's just like, why? Why? Who's paying you to do this bullshit? Shut the fuck up, girlfriend. Like, what are you doing?
Hormones and HRT for kids and oh my god, it's so terrifying. Oh my goodness, they're turning all of our kids transgender. Oh my god.
Single is a good faith, I think, critical thinker. I'm subscribed to Blocked and Reported. I have listened to endless podcast episodes from Blocked and Reported. I haven't seen anything from Jesse Singal that communicates to me that he is a transphobe, that he is a bad person.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, that in and of itself is significantly worse than any of the other tweets that you guys showed me today. You could have just shown me that, and I would have. That is the worst thing I've seen so far. It's the whole it's the whole show me why J.K. Rowling is transphobic narrative. You know what I mean? Isn't all Jesse Singal writes about am I mistaking him with Glinner? Is that what it is? Am I thinking of someone else?
Oh my
No, he
God,
talks tons of
yeah.
shit about trans people, but he clouds it in just asking questions. No, Jesse Single wrote about how he was chased off Twitter by trans people. No, Single is constantly posting about trans people. It's the end result of the trans derangement pipeline. Yeah. Yeah, I think I was like originally thinking of Glinner, but I have seen, I thought this was that guy. I thought this was Glinner, like this. Like I've seen this avatar a lot. Do we have political discussions about the effects of different cancer meds? Lamau. Why does literally any of this matter unless you have a trans child or in a private conversation with your doctor? These conversations should not be political discourse. Do we have political discussion about the effects of different cancer meds? You just Googled cancer meds controversy and chose the first thing you could find embarrassing. The book that he busted out has 6 reviews. Oh my God. That's awesome. Seems like everyone cares more about people being a certain way than about themselves. No, I think that's a shitty way to cover this. These are people who literally spend their whole lives trying to make trans people's lives worse, trying to shut off access to trans medication, and are relatively successful at making an argument against trans people, especially because society is pretty fucking transphobic. So everyone's kind of looking for a way to reconfirm their preconceived notions of how trans people are kind of weird or maybe even outright evil. So there's a market for this kind of rhetoric. There's a market for this kind of research.
Just to tag along to this, gender spectrum has been something that the Native Americans have believed in for quite some time. That you don't generally land completely male or completely female, and so therefore you might be somewhere on the spectrum. This has been a belief of Native Americans for a long time, and in my time of at least activism, even before activism, during my time of activism, I've worked with probably a half dozen transgender individuals. But even before that, my son was bringing home friends from high school who were transgender. I went to high school at Hollywood High with people who transitioned. And I knew other people down here in South OC who transitioned. So it's been kind of a normal thing for me for decades. And it's just really confusing to me that this is the crisis now. The crisis now is that? For real? Like, why? It's like, it's such a small proportion of our population. Like, why does it matter to you? Why is this the issue? And I'll tell you straight up, the reason it's an issue for Anna Kasparian is because it's a Republican issue. And because DeSantis is doing his wokeism, right? So she thinks she's going to get a larger right-wing viewership by tagging along to this issue that is a non-issue. It's a demonizing a marginalized group issue.
And these guys fill that void. And part of it is a grift, but the other part of it is like genuinely held perspectives because of their genuine insanity. It becomes everything that you care about. It becomes your whole life's work. You're right to treat transphobia like a disease. No, it's 100% mental illness. It really is. Society's transphobic. You wake up, you grow up, you develop object permanence, and you also develop certain sets of standards. Transphobia is one of those standards. I've had this conversation a million times over. Now, so there is like a level of transphobia that everyone has in the beginning. But then there's 2 avenues that you can go down. You either look at that situation. That's the reason why most people have apathy towards trans people.
I don't think that's a fair statement, Hassan. Like, I've literally known people who were on the spectrum since I was a teenager in the late 80s. Give me a goddamn break. You can't make that assumption that everybody just naturally has some sort of phobia towards this. That's simply not true. The first transgender individual I met was a woman who was transgendering into a man, but she still went by the name of Autumn. So I don't know, like we weren't at the place at that time where we were changing pronouns, and she didn't ask me to change her pronouns, but she was presenting as a man. I didn't have a problem with this. You can't assume that everybody has a phobia. I didn't have a phobia to the situation. Okay? And she even hit on me, you know? And I was like, not really there. Not gonna happen for me. Okay? But that doesn't mean, like, I felt offended. That doesn't mean that I felt offended. But you can't assume. I had several LGBTQIA people within my life from birth. Because I had relatives, and then I had friends that I met when I was a teenager who started expressing their true intentions about where they felt like they fell on the spectrum, right? You cannot make that assumption that everybody has natural phobias to this. That's simply not true. But apparently you feel this way because you're related to Chank, right?
Right? The overwhelming majority. They just like don't give a shit. They think trans people are kind of weird, but they don't think about it that much. So there's two different ways when you see a trans person in the real world, or when you are met with trans issues, right? That get blasted in front of your face. You can go either way. You either go down the route of like not being transphobic and educating yourself about culturally speaking what role gender has played in society and how different that is from our current understanding of it. You look at biology and you become not transphobic. I myself have gone through a similar journey. Or you go in the other direction, and the other direction is really scary because a lot of people do take that path and they just become incredibly transphobic, like further and further and further. Like every single day, every new day, there's another thing that you look at that makes your fucking that melts your mind a little bit further about how like trans people are a certain way. It's really sad until you ultimately arrive at what I like to call the highest stage of transphobia as a mental illness, and that is, of course, transvestigations.
Oh, no.
It's like a closed circuit at that point. You've arrived at the reality that gender is culturally defined. Gender is a social construct. But because you can't cope with that, because you can't recognize that reality, you start thinking everyone is technically trans. Start yelling at cis people who have like given birth, and you go, oh my God. You know?
Oh my God, that totally happened to me, Hassan. My crazy ass maggot neighbor called me a transgender woman, a lesbian, and a man. It totally fucking happened to me, dude.
This person is secretly trans. Matt Walsh is one of those people. And if you don't want to constantly fucking obsess over, whatever some Hollywood celebrities' children are wearing, or children's genitals on a regular basis, then if you don't want to go down that pipeline, learn that, trans people are among us. It's totally normal, and perhaps we shouldn't shut off medical access to gender-affirming care. Many cis people use, myself included, Anna Kasparian included, and Joe Rogan certainly has utilized like all matter of different gender-affirming care. As a person who got a hair transplant in the beginning, as a person who has literally taken HRT, hormone replacement therapy, for his entire life. He has been a advocate for TRT for as long as I've known him. He is the reason why I will most likely, at a certain point, take TRT once I hit like 35, 36. TikTok convinced my brother all trans girls are just male sex pests who want to expose themselves to their female classmates in the locker rooms. I had to remind him that it would be considered a crime and they should be reported to the police. It blew his mind. Yeah, exactly. Isn't around 40 better, or is it better in mid-30s? Yeah, probably will do it when I notice that my T levels begin to decline, is what I was saying, for TRT. Notice how none of these trans activists say they would...
It was the most impactful video that happened. It was a little over a week ago on Sunday, where I was accosted while I was in the handicap spot, and I had been asked by our HOA president to get video of these people being disruptive at the pool. So when they saw me taking video, they came out and started saying really horrible things to me. And a lot of this is projection, because I suspect, I mean, this is only my supposition, but I suspect that they are actually abusing their children, sexually abusing their children. And I have never gone up to any one of their properties, not once. I don't even go to the pool. I haven't had a key fob to the pool in like 3 years, because my son lost it like 3 years ago. So I don't even go to the pool. But these folks come up to me constantly, and they send their children up to my house to yell up my name, yell horrible things at me, vulgar things at me, and rattle me. So this is what happened.
I've never seen anybody so disturbing like you. Are you a man or woman? I'm asking the question. Simple question. Why do you arrest children?
What are you talking about? I have no idea who this fat motherfucker is, by the way. And if you look at his beer belly, he's clearly projecting, right? Like these motherfuckers go to the pool and like sit around and drink all day, because look at their body shapes, right?
Pedophile, aren't you?
Oh my God, Ethan.
You're a pedophile. Yeah. Oh my God. Look at you, you alcoholic. What are you? What are you? You it? He or she or? Simple question. You can answer it. You can answer. You won't, right? Because you like harassing children.
How do I harass children
You harass
exactly?
fucking children. Shut the hell up. You
How-
do.
how?
I've
How?
seen it. I watched the videos. That's how. I see it on your videos. You harass children. You're a pedophile.
Oh my God, Ethan.
I hope you know you're on notice.
Nice Raiders hat.
I love you. Thank you. You want to wear it?
No, I don't want to fucking touch you, dude.
Okay,
Get
good. I don't
the
want to
fuck
touch
away
you
from
either.
me.
Crack fuck.
Oh my God, even this is my neighborhood.
Yeah, that's your
This
neighborhood. Go
This
up
is
the
my
stairs. I hope
neighborhood.
you can crawl up the stairs because you can't walk anymore. Get out of here. Bye, Bernie. Yeah, bye. Bye, Bernie. Bye.
It's you heard that right? They literally are coming after me because I was a Bernie organizer. That's literally why they did this shit. A fucking community property, bitches.
Bitches.
You get
Bitches.
to. You do not own this fucking pool.
Neither do
You do
you.
not own this pool. You
Neither
don't
do
own this
you.
fucking pool.
Do you own it? Why you think you're going to be the mall cop here?
Are you
Do you own it? I'm asking you a simple question.
the mall cop? Are you for fucking real? That's literally a community property. That's something that everybody who is a homeowner or a renter, whatever, in this community is able to use. And y'all are guarding it like you're marking your fucking territory. You are the most disgusting, male, chauvinistic pieces of shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, I mean, holy crap.
Do you own the pool?
I am
You bought
a
at the
renter. No, I'm not a renter. I'm a fucking
You don't even know what you
homeowner.
are. You don't even know what you are. You're a renter. Oh, you're a renter. You know what you are? You're a fucking idiot is what you are.
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
I am? I'm an idiot.
A retarded idiot. Yeah. Look at you. Are you a guy or a girl?
Drop the R word.
I mean, you're trying to look like a guy.
What happens when you do drugs? You look like that.
Yeah. Look at you. Just
The guy yelling in the background lives in a 3-bedroom condo with 7 children, him and his wife, 7 children. And that's why he is assuming ownership of our community pool. Because he's so fucking frustrated in the fact that he doesn't have enough space. And apparently he's got a slab leak. I can see the construction happening down the street. And I've been told about it too. He doesn't know how to put on a condom, and so he literally has too many children. He doesn't know how to deal with it, and he is more than likely abusing them, because I'm hearing all kinds of weird, crazy shit being yelled up around me, daddy, 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 constantly, right? When you have a young daughter who is constantly yelling daddy, there's something going on there. She obviously wants his attention constantly. And the sons too. The sons have been yelling my name up. They've tried to take pictures of me in my bikini. There is some weird sexual behavior going on out of that family that is not normal, and the cops won't do a damn thing about it.
Look at you. Have you ever looked in the mirror and said you're disgraceful? How disgraceful you look? Look at you. Look at you. Look at you. Does your mama love you? Or she hates you? I'm sure she doesn't love you. I know, I'm on camera.
By the way, my mother was over the very next day helping me get to my surgical appointment, and she came and took care of me. I don't know who the fuck this guy thinks he is, but can't even, dude. My mom was literally at my house the very next day, very early in the morning, to take me to a surgical appointment. But okay.
Now, I love it because I'm calling you out because you're an ugly bitch. Ugly. Ugly.
You're a fucking short little piece of shit, dude. I can't even. Oh my god, that's good. That's good.
Is that all you got?
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'll live a lot longer than you will, ugly.
How old are you?
62. How old are you? Probably
62.
40-something. Yeah.
62. I can't even.
Yeah, look at you. Orange teeth.
So 62 years old, and he's doing that to a woman in the neighborhood, right? 62 years old, and he's harassing a disabled woman in the neighborhood. For real? That's that's, he thinks that's normal behavior. Okay, let's go. Good. So good.
You have no ass either.
I can't even, you guys. I can't even with this deal. Oh, he said I have no ass. The reality is that I'm probably a bit rock harder than any woman he's ever been with. He's probably only been with soft women, right? I was doing physical work for a long time. I'm pretty cut. He probably doesn't know what it looks like to see, muscle shape on an actual woman. And I can't even with this dude, you guys. I can't even with this bullshit. This is literally the MAGA bullshit I have to deal with in my fucking neighborhood. I can't even.
They would make crime illegal. I agree. Aren't you scared of penis nipples that Joe has when you do HRT? Honestly, not really. I will have some long ass nipples, baby. I don't give a fuck. Some suckable ass nipples like Joe does. Got covered under health insurance? Not sure. Anyway, let's wrap this video up and we'll move on to some other news.
He did straight news reporting on basically what, some of the risks could be when it comes to transitioning literal kids with puberty blockers and then cross-sex hormones. And through his reporting, which I'm very sad to say I didn't really come across until this year, I learned that I was wrong about a bunch of other things.
Jesse Singal literally is one of the more notable transphobic people that is out there putting out misinformation about trans people and actively still.
This is literally the same as that former New York Times reporter who became an anti-vaxxer, a psychotic anti-vaxxer who Twitter banned for regularly presenting misinformation about vaccines. The Reefer Madness guy, what's his name? Not Michael Barbaro. No, not Naomi Wolf. No, the fuck Alex Berenson. Thank you. God, I forgot. It was so fucking stupid and irrelevant. But this guy that Anna is talking about is, as far as I've seen, anytime he's ever popped up, is like the same type of guy. He's like the Alex Berenson for trans issues.
Stoking the flames of this big wave of anti-trans legislation, and it's just deeply shameless to come in and say, no, I definitely think, as a cisgender woman, think that Jesse Singal is not transphobic at all. So yeah, it's good, it's fine. Trust me. And then of course she starts talking about like, oh, puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for children. I think the important thing to understand here, and this is a line that I've like continuously told people and like said on TYT myself, that like really what it boils down to is hormone replacement therapy is literally just puberty. Like at the end of the day, it's just puberty. And yeah, whether it's puberty with estrogen or testosterone, it's going to carry some risks just like it does with cisgender children. That's just part of puberty. And it's actually not all that different if it's a trans puberty or a cis puberty, believe it or not. And so anybody fear-mongering about the effects are permanent, yeah, that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? You know? Isn't that like the whole point? But if the effects were really entirely permanent, then transitioning as an adult wouldn't really work, would it? And yet, of course, it does. And you know, it's funny because their biggest fear for what happens to children who are on hormone therapy is that a cisgender child might accidentally get gender dysphoria. You know, the thing that trans children just deal with if they're not allowed to get hormones. And so literally, this is just a nonsense argument of throwing all trans people under a bus out of the hypothetical fear that a cisgender person might take hormones and just realize that it's not for
hard to follow. I don't think it's that hard to follow. The entire concept behind puberty blockers and like hormone therapy for teenagers is done, you know, under the watchful eye of medical professionals who know significantly better than we do. No, don't pepega the person. I understand. You can think that it's hard to follow. It's normal. It's valid. And a lot of people take advantage of like the confusion surrounding this issue and cut anti-trans propaganda surrounding it. And the idea that like these puberty blockers specifically are non-reversible is incorrect. And she's saying that they're incorrect because if that was the case, puberty blockers were permanently irreversible, and there's nothing you can do about it when you take them, then, you know, adults could never transition. Like, adult trans people who did not have access to puberty blockers would not ever be able to transition at all. And they can. So clearly it is reversible from that perspective. And I think overall, what transphobes try to say, actually, this is some really good points that even I had not considered. What a lot of anti-trans, transphobic commentators consistently claim is that cis teenagers will get these hormones or these hormone blockers because they think they're trans, but then they're not actually trans. And then all of a sudden they'll develop gender dysphoria. Like, that's the whole basis behind transing the oh my God, look at Kaya. Fuck. I mean, that's crazy. Who lays like that?
Baby.
This is insane. She sleeps like this all the time. I forgot what I was talking about. I'm sorry. Okay, let's continue.
Which at that point, by the way, they could just stop taking hormones. And so, really, when you take all this together, it seems like Anna Kasparian is fully engulfed into, like, the conspiracy theories against trans people. And I genuinely think that she believes a lot more than what she's saying, because I've just seen hints of like just some like extremely rabid transphobic nonsense. And with Cenk seems to be following Anna Kasparian along and kind of seems to be of the vibe of like, oh, no, I'm this big smart news guy and I've been doing this for a long time. I couldn't possibly be wrong, and very much relying on his lack of any type of understanding of biology and just making ridiculous assumptions about the difference between men and women and thinking that that's some sort of like universally applicable thing, not thinking about how hormones play a role in that, and of course is bouncing off of Anna's deeply transphobic energy. And of course, he can't help himself but frame himself as like the brilliant galaxy brain reasonable person. And of course, all these trans people are just ridiculous and out there and just radical. And couldn't possibly be, you know, referencing like very basic science that is easy to go through. And any attempts to educate either Anna Kasparian or Cenk has kind of just been met with a lot of stubbornness, of digging in their heels, rejecting the new information, and replacing it with their own imaginations about how they think things should be. And it just continues to escalate over the past several months. And that fundamentally is why I just can't be a part of TYT anymore. It's just too much. It's ridiculous. Because at a certain point it becomes embarrassing for me. Because how can I, as a trans person, who actually knows the science behind this, who actually is, like, actively trying to support trans people, as somebody that people look up to me, right? People literally, like, send me messages and be like, I'm so inspired, you know, you being a TYT, like, it made me want to come out, or, like, my kids watch your show, and you know, it just, like, it gives them so much hope, and they're so excited to see a trans person in the news, and I have to deal with messages from them now, asking about, hey, what's going on with TIT? Hey, what the hell is happening here? Like, why is Anna saying this? Why is Jenk saying this? And that is just, like, the amount of, like, psychic damage that I have to take every single day dealing with not only the transphobic nonsense of the Republicans, but also whatever Jenk and Anna are on right now. It's just too much. And because at a certain point it becomes embarrassing, because then people think that I'm, like, endorsing their views. And I cannot. I will not. I refuse to lend any support to those views whatsoever, because fundamentally,
I haven't watched TYT in years because they've been off message for many years now. It's been super clear to me that they don't have good intentions for anything progressive. They're full of fucking shit, and they have been for goddamn years.
they're dangerous and they're ridiculous and, like, they're straight up evil. It is just this shameless, selfish ignorance that is fueling this, and just this self-importance coming from both Jenk and Anna, this idea that they don't actually have to listen. So no, yeah, I'm done with TYT, because I can't let anybody think that I have any type of support for their opinions here, because they're just ridiculous. And it's just gotten to be too much for me to deal with all of this nonsense. And the last thing I want is for them to be able to say, oh no, it's fine, we have, like, a transgender host, so it's all good actually. Because no, it's not all good actually. It is in fact quite bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad to see. I don't expect anyone to have to, like, consistently defend it. I'm not a part of the Young Turks, and I haven't been for 3 years. And even not, people constantly are like, dude, what do you have to say about this? What do you have to say about this? For the past 2 hours and 34 minutes, we have quite literally been covering this news story, and it gets fucking annoying. Probably even more annoying when you are a trans person working there. You know what I mean? But I hope...
This is your family, Hassan. This is your uncle. You've put him on your own show. Say something to him. You have more clout than he does. This is some bullshit that you're like, I don't know, I'm not responsible for what my Uncle Chank does.
You guys understand what my perspective is. Holy shit. And maybe shut the fuck up about it. And then the next time this kind of thing happens, again, just, I don't know. Don't watch if you don't want to. I just, like, it's just so silly and stupid just to make hay of this and get...
Just don't watch, you guys. Just don't watch.